Billionaire's daughter refuses school until he hires this homeless girl. You won't believe why. The rain hammered against the bulletproof windows of the black Bentley as Marcus Wellington III adjusted his Rolex and stared at the stack of contracts demanding his signature. At 42, he controlled a tech empire worth $12 billion, but tonight, he felt utterly powerless. His 8-year-old daughter Emma sat beside him, tears streaming down her face after another disastrous parent-teacher conference. "Daddy, why can't I be smart like the other kids?" Emma whispered, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Her learning disability had been diagnosed months ago, but despite hiring the most expensive tutors money could buy, she continued to struggle with basic math and reading. Marcus felt his heart break a little more. All his wealth, all his success, and he couldn't help the one person who mattered most. "We'll figure it out, sweetheart," he said, though doubt gnawed at him. The traffic light turned red, and Marcus found himself staring through the rain-streaked window at a small figure huddled beneath a torn cardboard shelter. A teenage girl, no more than 16, sat cross-legged on the sidewalk with a younger child. What caught his attention wasn't her tattered clothes or the makeshift shelter. It was the way she was patiently holding up handmade flashcards, teaching the little boy to read. "Look, Daddy," Emma pressed her face to the window. "That girl is being a teacher just like Miss Johnson." The homeless girl moved her lips slowly, sounding out each word with infinite patience. When the little boy got an answer right, her face lit up with such pure joy that Marcus felt something shift inside his chest. Here was someone with nothing, giving everything. The light turned green, but Marcus couldn't stop thinking about what he'd witnessed. That night he made a decision that would change everything. The next evening, Marcus returned to the same street corner, this time without his driver. Emma sat beside him in his personal car, her homework spread across her lap. The homeless girl was there again, but this time she was alone, reading a worn library book by the light of a flickering street lamp. Marcus rolled down the window. "Excuse me." The girl looked up, startled. She had striking green eyes and dirty blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail. Despite her circumstances, there was a dignity about her that commanded respect. "My name is Marcus Wellington. I saw you yesterday teaching that little boy. That was remarkable." She stood up, defensive. "I wasn't doing anything wrong. The sidewalk is public property." No, Marcus said quickly. "You misunderstand. I wanted to thank you and perhaps ask for your help." The girl, who introduced herself as Sarah Chen, was skeptical at first, but when Marcus explained Emma's struggles and how impressed he'd been by her teaching methods, something in her demeanor softened. "I've been tutoring kids in the shelter for 2 years, Sarah admitted. "I dropped out of high school when my mom got sick, but I never stopped learning. The library is my classroom." That's when Marcus learned Sarah's story. At 14, she'd become her mother's primary caregiver when cancer struck. They lost their apartment when the medical bills piled up. Her mother died 6 months ago, leaving Sarah completely alone. At 16, she was aging out of the foster system with nowhere to go. "But you kept teaching," Emma said softly from the passenger seat. "Even when you were sad." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "Learning is the one thing nobody can take away from you. I figured if I couldn't save my mom, maybe I could help other kids not give up on themselves." Marcus felt something he hadn't experienced in years: humility. Here was a girl who had lost everything but still chose to give. "Would you consider tutoring Emma? I'll pay you well, of course." Sarah shook her head. "I don't need your money, but if you think I can help her, I'd like to try." What followed was the most challenging period of Marcus's life, but also the most transformative. Sarah began tutoring Emma 3 times a week, meeting in Marcus's home office. Her methods were unlike anything the expensive tutors had tried. She turned math into storytelling, reading into treasure hunts, and learning into play. But the real magic happened when Sarah began teaching Emma that struggle wasn't failure, it was strength. "My brain works differently too," she told Emma during one session. "That doesn't make us broken. It makes us creative problem solvers." The challenges came fast and hard. Marcus's board of directors questioned his judgment when news leaked about the homeless tutor. His ex-wife threatened to sue for custody, claiming he was exposing Emma to undesirable elements. Several high society friends stopped calling altogether. Maybe this isn't working, Marcus said one evening after a particularly brutal board meeting. Maybe the others are right. Sarah, who had been living in the guest house Marcus insisted she use, packed her few belongings that night. I don't want to cause problems for Emma, she told him. She deserves stability. But Emma had other plans. The next morning, she refused to get out of bed. If Sarah leaves, I'm not going to school anymore, she declared with 8-year-old finality. She's the only teacher who makes me feel smart. That's when Marcus realized the truth. Sarah hadn't just been teaching Emma academics. She'd been teaching her confidence, resilience, and the belief that different doesn't mean less than. For the first time in months, Emma was excited about learning. Marcus made his choice. At the next board meeting, he stood before the room of suited executives and spoke from his heart. This company was built on innovation, on thinking differently. How can we claim to value that while judging someone's worth by their address? He shared Emma's progress reports, her improved test scores, and most importantly, her renewed love of learning. Sarah Chen is the best teacher my daughter has ever had. If you have a problem with that, you have a problem with me. The room was silent. Then slowly, applause began. It started with Marcus's longtime friend and CFO, then spread throughout the room. By the end, they were giving him a standing ovation. But the biggest challenge was yet to come. Sarah's past caught up with her when a social worker arrived, claiming she needed to enter the system as a ward of the state. She's a minor without legal guardians, the woman explained. This living situation is highly irregular. Marcus spent days with lawyers navigating the complex web of legal requirements. Sarah sat in his office, resigned to leaving. I knew this was too good to last, she said quietly. Not if I have anything to say about it, Marcus replied, sliding papers across his desk. I'm filing for emergency guardianship. If you'll have me as your legal guardian, you can stay. Sarah stared at the documents, tears flowing freely. Why would you do this for someone like me? Emma, who had been listening from the doorway, ran into the room. Because you're family now, and families stick together. The legal process took months, but eventually Sarah Chen became a permanent member of the Wellington household. Marcus enrolled her in an accelerated online high school program, while she continued tutoring Emma. Her natural gift for teaching was undeniable. A year later, Sarah graduated high school with honors and received a full scholarship to study education at Columbia University. At her graduation party, she stood before a room filled with Marcus's friends, colleagues, and Emma's classmates, many of whom she now tutored as well. A year ago, I was sleeping on the streets, convinced my life was over, she said, her voice strong and clear. But I learned something important. Home isn't a place, it's the people who believe in you when you can't believe in yourself. Marcus and Emma didn't just give me shelter, they gave me purpose. Emma, now 9 and thriving in school, beamed from the front row. Her learning disability hadn't disappeared, but her confidence had grown immeasurably. She no longer saw her differences as weaknesses, but as unique strengths that made her special. Marcus wiped away tears as Sarah continued. We live in a world that judges people by their circumstances rather than their character. But sometimes, if we're very lucky, we meet people who see past the surface to the soul beneath. That's when real transformation begins. The audience erupted in applause, but Sarah held up her hand. She wasn't finished. This experience taught me that wealth isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in the lives we touch and the love we share. Emma taught me that being different is beautiful. Marcus taught me that true strength lies in vulnerability and compassion. And life taught me that sometimes the teacher learns more than the student. As the party continued around them, Marcus found himself on the terrace with Emma and Sarah, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant colors. His daughter was sketching in a notebook, working on a story about a princess who saved the kingdom not with magic, but with kindness. Daddy, Emma said without looking up from her drawing, are we rich? Marcus smiled, pulling both girls close. Yes, sweetheart. We're the richest family in the world. Sarah looked up at the man who had become her father figure and the little girl who had become her sister. A year ago, she had nothing but the clothes on her back and a heart full of hope. Now she had everything that truly mattered. A family who loved her unconditionally, a purpose that fulfilled her soul, and a future bright with possibility. The homeless girl who taught a billionaire's daughter had indeed stunned everyone, including herself. But the real miracle wasn't in her transformation from poverty to privilege. It was in the reminder that love, compassion, and human connection are the only currencies that truly matter. In a world obsessed with material success, the Wellington family discovered something far more valuable. That true wealth comes not from what you accumulate, but from what you give away. And sometimes, the greatest teachers come in the most unexpected packages, reminding us that every person has infinite worth regardless of their circumstances. Emma finished her drawing and held it up, a picture of 3 people holding hands under a rainbow. At the bottom, in her careful handwriting, she had written, "My real family." Sarah smiled, remembering the scared, lonely girl she had been just a year ago. Now she was home, surrounded by love, pursuing her dreams of becoming a teacher and helping other children discover their own unique brilliance. Marcus looked at his 2 daughters, one by birth, one by choice, and realized that this was his greatest achievement. Not the billion-dollar company or the magazine covers or the prestigious awards, but this, a family built on love, acceptance, and the unwavering belief that everyone deserves a chance to shine. As the stars began to appear in the darkening sky, Marcus made a silent promise to continue seeking out those forgotten corners where angels might be hiding, waiting for someone to notice their light. Because sometimes, the most profound lessons come from the most unexpected teachers, and the greatest treasures are found not in banks or safe deposit boxes, but in the hearts of those brave enough to love without condition. What did you think of this incredible story of transformation and love? The power of seeing beyond circumstances to recognize true character is something we can all learn from. Have you ever encountered someone who taught you life lessons in unexpected ways? Share your own inspiring stories in the comments below. I'd love to hear how kindness and compassion have touched your life. If this story moved you and reminded you of the importance of treating everyone with dignity and respect, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs to hear this message today. Your engagement helps these uplifting stories reach more people who might need hope and inspiration. Don't forget to subscribe to Trillionaire in Love for more heartwarming stories about the power of human connection, unexpected friendships, and the wealth that comes from opening our hearts to others. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest videos that celebrate the extraordinary in the ordinary, and the magic that happens when we choose love over judgment. Remember, we're all just walking each other home in this journey of life. Let's make sure no one walks alone. See you in the next video.